So here's some quick ideas to, in general, design stuff to make it more accessible for people with disabilities. And I'm going over a very broad overview, and a lot of these things overlap. But this is something to start off. One is to make objects lighter. And this is a big deal because a lot of us have less energy. So moving stuff back and forth uses up less energy. Also, we're more likely to hurt ourselves. And the heavier an object is, the bigger deal for us to hurt ourselves with it, potentially if it falls or hits us. Some of us have mobility issues with wrist movements or over flexible or under flexible. Some of us don't have as strong muscles. And we can go on and on. But also, this is bad for the environment in the long run. Because in an environment, if something is lighter weight, it is cheaper to transport, actually. Now, the second one I want to talk about is to make this whole thing much more durable. And the reason why durability is important is, let's say, people with a lot of disabilities and neurodivergence, when we're handling stuff, we might not have the same motor control or strength control and break it more often. We might chew on it even or something, or do other things with it that might break it more. We might use it more often than a normal person. We might be more rough with it or misplace stuff without even noticing it. We might take on a stim with it. I remember my backpacks usually last me like less than a fourth of the school year compared to everyone else, which could have backpacks for years because I was just so rough with them, so I couldn't control. I would also break glasses frequently by taking with them without even noticing them and other objects. A lot of my credit cards and driver's license stuff are scratched and look like they're years old, or decades when they're only a few months or a few weeks old. So durability is a huge issue that can't be understated. But also, if something breaks with us, we have oftentimes less money to replace it. Not only do we have less money to replace it, we also have less executive function or time or stuff to replace it and researching and stuff. So it's a bigger deal if it does break in the first place. Something along similar lines is that also it would help when stuff is more repairable if it does break. And the reason why having something more repairable is also good is that also leads into something I'll talk about later. It also means it's more modifiable and stuff like that. And also, we'll just save a lot of money if you can just do a quick repair, even if it's not the best repair. Other things about it being more repairable that might be fun is if you have someone with a special interest in building and stuff like that, more repairing stuff could really help them with their special interest. And if it's more repairable, you can have a whole DIY hack community to further improve the designs of everything that goes into this thing. Also, more repairable again, like more durable is, and being lighter weight is better for the environment because you produce less waste and stuff. So actually, when a lot of times people say like disability stuff is in conflict with environmental issues, because like they look at plastic straws and stuff, this is a direct counterexamples where disability rights is better for the environment directly with design of stuff, which we should oftentimes more think about if making designs of stuff better for both. Another huge issue that we want to talk about is just making everything safer, and that's because we're already disabled or have other problems with it, so we're more likely. So if we get hurt, it's a bigger deal. We get hurt, it's going to be more expensive. We're going to have a harder time getting to the hospital, getting treated, or whatever. And we're also more likely to hurt ourselves with it by mistake. So safety is a huge issue. And safety, we have to think about people chewing on it or chewing on it. You have to think about people falling, people maybe cutting themselves, it catching on fire, toxicity, blowing out, user manuals, instructions, and all those little things. And sometimes people say like, oh, you shouldn't ever blame the you should just look at like a human. Humans should, if it's not safe and they misuse it, should just ignore it because that's their fault. Well, not always, because first of all, you have little kids. You have people that are so sick they don't know stuff they normally would use in their thing, and it's still a human life you're talking about. And you have like weird things where someone might have caught on fire. Something might have caught on fire for something you totally couldn't predict it. So any safety thing is a useful thing. Now the problem is when safety gets in the fact of functionality and actually helping people make their lives better. So safety is a more complex than I'm saying, but yes, making it safer is a lot better. Which doesn't go too much to standards. Another one that I want to talk about briefly here is having multi-user interfaces, and that means touchpad, like a touchpad, for example, might be a very useful interface for some people with a variety of things that they can control from like the laptop or iPad or something. But it might not give the tactile sensations that some people want, or some people might be too rough with it. Some people might want a user interface that is more verbal because they're blind, or they might want something that is more tactile with touch ones, so they know what they're touching and they can't see because they can't bend down or something. You can imagine many different reasons, but having it able to use many different methods for different people is very, very useful. Or having it also being accessible from different people so different people can help them out. Now, with accessibility for different people using the same device, you always get the problem with security issues. So we also have to balance security issues very much when we're talking about this. Another one that we have to talk about is making everything more ergonomic in some ways. And what I'm talking about with the ergonomic part is that when you hold an object and you have certain motor problems, it can more easily cause slippage in joints or stress in joints. If you have weak muscles, carrying stuff can hurt you even more. But also, it's just the constant wear and tear, carpal tunnels, or people already have odd grips. So some examples of making stuff more ergonomic that really works is pencils that instead of being six-sided, have three sides like a triangle along it, can really help with pencil grips and lower the tension in making writing stuff. Bigger pencils can help, better pencil grips. Doorknobs that are not the circle ones, but the ones that are like more levers can help with grip for a bunch of people. Having straps that more evenly distribute the weight around the whole body so it doesn't dig into something. And digging into stuff can also help hurt people with blood circulation if they have blood circulation problems. Another idea that can really help people is designing devices that are more I'm going to call form-fitting. And by that I mean that they are, how would I say it? Well, in a lot of, let's say you have a device that your hands are messed up in a certain way with something you're born with, or legs, or something like that. So having a device that is able to customizable for unique physical differences or other differences, so you're more easily able to handle it, can be a huge help. And if you make parts that are, for example, 3D printed or customizable manufactured, we can more have a wide range of them than in the past when we just all mass manufacture them with the same mold. Or you could have devices with different strap settings, or we can move stuff in and around the device to make it able to handle different ones. So you could have it so it could strap to different parts of the body to carry the weight, or you could have the straps being adjustable in different ways so the weight is distributed differently on people. You could also do that with clothes, and that can make clothes fit for more different body types or feel more comfortable because the weight and how the weight is distributed, clothes are different. And you can keep going on with that. But it's a thing to honestly think heavily about. Another big deal that I want to point out there is making everything quieter, because this can really hurt a lot of people. Loud noises. Loud noises can hurt you if you have PTSD, anxiety, and stuff, even if it's not related to something that's noisy or the noise is totally different. Because when you have a constant fight or flight response, everything starts impacting you and everything starts spooking you. It's like when you're watching a scary movie. If someone makes and the movie is getting you really tense, any noise can set you off, screaming, even if it's something totally different. So that constant anxiety can really get to hurt people. But then you have people with sound sensitivity. Beyond that, with sensory processing disorders, then you have people that have can't separate out sounds very well, which is a sort of auditory processing disorder, APD, and they will not be able to hear stuff, other people as well, with a lot of noise going on, and so in the background. So making everything quieter when possible is an excellent idea. Another excellent idea that is under thought of is making stuff have more functions in one. So you have to buy less devices. Devices don't take up as much space, more compact. So that means that navigation is easier, cleaning up is easier. But also it helps remind people with executive dysfunction problems, because if everything is one thing together, then you see the one thing and you don't have to remember, for example, oh, the washing machine is done, I have to transfer it to laundry. No, it's all in one step, so you don't have to think as much, and that can help you with executive function, that we don't always remember to do something until it's really right in front of our face. It also can just make life easier, which is always a much bonus for anyone that's disabled. And it also could save money, which is also always very good for us. I mean, because we oftentimes tend to be poor, or we spend more money because of a disability, and oftentimes both. Less steps. So again, the more steps there are, the more likely you will mess up something, or the more time consuming, or the more times that just we forget something because of executive function, and it also makes the whole thing a lot more stressful for us. It's all adds up. So for example, if we designed a washing machine combined with a dryer as before, it just did everything together. Also, less steps can mean actually more environmentally friendly. For example, in a washing drying machine, you can use hotter water or the water heat you can use to help keep the water hotter longer, so it dries more easily. And spinning from it, you can use to also get rid of some of the water. And there's a less of a transfer in between. You're also less likely to hurt yourself sometimes if there's less steps, such as if there's less steps to transfer dirty laundry from one laundry machine to another one. That's a time that you save that you might hurt your back or need to have help. Another one is to have more visual guides for people that get nervous. So sometimes making it better guides is not only about, I want to emphasize, it's not only about explaining to people that don't understand, but also alleviating worries and anxiety because it's clearly set out. So visual guides can really help people, and they can also expand so people can use it to do not speak the language as well natively, or it's a second language or something. But you can have other ones, you can have spoken guides and all this stuff that just to help them see what to do over the object. Another one is just to make the whole device easily modifiable by tinkerers and stuff outside there. And this can help keep it current and relevant, but it can help people with physical differences. It can help people with differences in the brain structure or anything that just makes it that they might not be able to use a conventional device as well. But it can also, again, help you with special interest in designing new things and building things. So like there's always a special interest angle. It can also keep it lasting longer and in more different types of environments that might not be useful. Or it can use it for unconventional uses, such as using the same motor, such as people have turned sticks into devices to help them pick up stuff on the ground, but also put on shoes. People have turned socks into stuff to keep their hands warm, or just simple things you think are modifiable, but anything you can modify, maybe to some extent, to some uses, such as self-watering ones made from tubs and containers. The possibilities are endless if we think about it in the beginning to make it modifiable. Along a very similar lines is to make everything more upgradable in the first place, so you can just have a wide variety of ideas. You can just build in any different ways, and now keep it relevant and modern. And we'll add this more devices. These are all very much related, these ones that I just talked about. So on to the next list. Cheap. So cheap is very, very important actually. The reason why being cheap is very, very important is that cheap things, a lot of us, do not have as much money because disability gets in the way of making money for some reason. A lot of us also are poor just nevertheless besides that. Also, a lot of us spend more money on healthcare, but also on just everyday tasks, like there's the so-called ADHD tax. There's other ones where you forget you have food, so it spoils, so you have to buy more money on food. Your executive function gets in the way of cooking, so you have to spend more money on food. Or stuff wears and tears more. And you tend to bake stuff more, as I said before. So making stuff cheaper is a huge help. It also will help us relieve some anxiety related to spending money. So another one is that there's a lot of us is to make it more accessible to people around the world, so more people can develop it and figure out stuff. And having it having a way to have it cross with multiple different languages or understanding of different languages can really spread its impact on how much people can help. And different features to maybe switch the language it's in or something. So that's a big deal right there. Another one is it should be something that if you can make it something that little kids can use or people can use at a very young age, they can grow up more to learn how to use it correctly, give more feedback on it, and figure out ways around problems they have with it and train with it. And when you're younger, you're more adaptable. So making it safe for little kids. Another thing is some disabled people, for some reason, have kids. I'm not aware that disabled parents exist. I'm being very sarcastic right here. But making sure that it's safe around little kids and little kids can help out in the house maybe if they want to. They should never be forced to do all household tasks. It really would help out. Or it can also can give kids more agency, which the more agency kids have, the more when they're adult they know what healthy boundaries are and have self-esteem and pride in themselves as a thing. Now, of course, I'm not saying little kids should be forced to clean up the house. Another thing that can be a big deal is to make sure everything here is more sanitizable, so we don't get, a lot of us have immunocompromised problems or other problems with our health. And also, even if we do not have things that affect our immune system, if we get sicker, we might get more sick because we might have something that impacts our lungs already or other things. And also, we're not as good at dealing with health problems because we might not have as much money, we might have problems filling out forms, getting to a hospital, we might have been gaslit and nervous. So having something that is more clean, easy to clean will help us. And also in a household that doesn't have to worry about it, having stuff more sanitizable means when we visit other houses, they're less likely to get sick, or the people are less likely to get sick in the first place. So making everything much, much more sanitizable is a really huge good thing that could be done. In a very similar vein, making something more cleanable is a very useful thing. Cleanable, the more cleanable something is and the easier to clean it, the less likely it gets junk and stuff in. Some of us have no aversion to junk, but some of us really hate unclean things and it really bothers us. We're also more likely to get stuff dirty in the first place, but there's also a hygiene problem, because let's say we have throw up more, let's say we spill more liquids, let's say we just touch more stuff in general, a bunch of things. So just making everything easier to clean, huge benefit right there. Another one is what I'm going to call the option of having it in big stuff and small stuff. So big font size or big stickers, something to make it really noticeable, so it's easier for us to read without straining or guess. Also, small options sometimes can help, and also big options are easy to find and see. Also, small options can help with when we need to have many things, or when we need lightweight things, or we need to fit a lot of things in a small space, like a backpack, to carry around with us in case we have an emergency. But sometimes you can have stuff that's adjustable in size. Like font sizes could be adjustable with big or small if they're on an electronic device. And some disabled people actually prefer a small font size so they can read more on a page and don't have to scroll as much. So it's very much a more case-specific thing, but in some cases you can make it adjustable. You could think about also like making stuff big and small, like adjustable rods or something like that for some physical objects that are not on a computer screen. So another one to help out all of our people is to have online help guides and stuff like that. So when we're nervous, we can just look it up online, and these can come in much more variety of languages and formats, and we can have links where online that people can look at the different formats and guides and tell you what ones. And that can also be, if you lost some of the guides and stuff, you have them. Just another little useful thing right there. Also, if you have online help guides for repairing it and DIY manufacturing, customizability and stuff, that would be really cool, or upgrading it. And all these things to some extent already exist, but I'm just saying more of and thinking about it. Better grips, because many of us do not have good grip and stuff slips, and that can hurt us or we can lose control. But we have to make sure that it also doesn't grip and hurt our skin or something like that when we go down. And better grips designed, for example, levers instead of knobs, because levers you can more easily grip with your whole hand. You can have grips that are more ergonomic, that they twist a little bit to form fit. Stuff like that. Or you can have like customizable grips where you slip on stuff for different people. Even printed grips, 3D printing grips are customized, manufactured ones, or sold separately. Another one that we have to think about is this better customer support. And for customer support, there's many things that we should think about. For example, in customer support, we really want to think about making it not only by voice, because sometimes calling people really stresses people out, and that's not always, and some people have hearing difficulties, auditory processing difficulties, just anxiety, just the weight and everything. So we have to have ones that are good text support, with like texts, emails, and a variety of technology, because not everyone's good at texting, not everyone's good at emailing. Some people just the comfort levels. Sometimes it's the internet access they have, or Wi-Fi access. So better customer support, and with real people to make them feel confident, and not the annoying phone AIs that are just awful oftentimes and do not get it, or annoying options they don't know what to say, or there is a bunch of options, there's also the option to say no, just directly speak to a person much more. And then people trained in customer support need to also maybe get actually additional training to communicate with a variety of people. Another thing is that we should have more stuff like Braille and stuff like that on devices, which I recently heard on the NPR. Actually, not too recently, it was like a couple months ago, about the problem with most pregnancy tests do not have a Braille option or something, so really hard of hearing or have a hard time telling if they're pregnant or not, and he'd help reading these tests and stuff. But that's just one example that where Braille could really, really help out a bunch of people. Written and verbal instructions, again, kind of gone over that many times. But some people like to have do both. And if sometimes having instructions in mobile formats, people like to look at it the same person in mobile formats because of the mood they're in or something like that, or they just have different capabilities at different times. But also can help relieve anxiety if they have a written one that tells them one thing, and a verbal one that tells them the same thing. They more likely feel like I got it right. More training or something, just for people to learn how to use a variety of objects, is also a really, really useful thing just to have around. And then also just online courses or anything. And even silly little things need training. But also you could have people that are just trainers in general that like life coaches or something, but not life coaches, more like occupational therapists or people at the library or something that help you out with everyday tasks and teach you everyday tips. So you'll be surprised how much people just do not know how to do everyday things, especially if you grew up disabled and were infantilized and never taught it, or grew up in an abusive household and weren't taught it because they were controlling or something. Some more ones. Well, one of them is to have better fonts, because some fonts are a lot easier to read than other fonts for different people with dyslexia and stuff. So that is a really huge thing. They can just make life a little easier. And don't overly use complicated fonts when you don't have to, or stresses people out. Having something in very simple language can really help people understand stuff, but also sometimes having over-the-top specific language that's very, very specific can help alleviate some people with anxiety even seems way over the top. Because some people just are great at misinterpreting things like me, or we get very anxious because we figure out 20 different possibilities that are unlikely. So having a guide in multiple different formats, that's like the simple language format and the over-the-top language format, or stuff like that. Making sure stuff is non-toxic, because we're more likely to damage it and release toxins. But also sometimes we chew on stuff all the time. I chewed on pencils excessively, clothes and more. So make sure we don't get poisoned that way is a really great thing. Of course, and making sure it's disposable in case it does get broken or dirty, or we don't have the energy to clean it or something, is also really, really nice. And that's one thing, is like disposable utensils and dishes. Having it being open source is also a great thing. Because when something is open source, it can evolve a whole community. And by open source, I mean like the design is out there. Everyone can look at the design and fool around with it. How it works and why the design choices are also made clear, and the failures and stuff. Just a very good documentation is out there. It's wonderful, because then you can have a whole community that figures out how to make the device better, or for certain accommodations or needs. And also, again, for people who have special interest. Having exchangeable parts and pieces, again, great idea for everything, for just making customizable or anything. Making it waterproof is another great thing, because we're more likely to spill liquids or something on it. We're more likely to use it out in the rain or something. And if it gets broken again, it's a bigger deal for us than for other people. making it be able to survive many different environments and conditions, because we're more likely to be abusive, and also turns out we live all over the world in many different places. Making it widely accessible in many different countries and places is also a great idea, because a lot of us are not as adaptable in some ways, or like saying, so having it accessible in one country, another one, really helpful, but also that can make a bigger community to improve the object or think about the object. And also, if we also having it everywhere means that if it breaks, we get it quickly. Having it relevant to more people helps create a more community around it that can improve the object and figure out problems with it, and also means that we can invest more time into it. So making an object also have multiple functions would also give it a bigger audience. Making it easy to use will have a bigger audience. Stuff like that. So I'm going to add 39. Another one that is important that might seem a little silly at first is making customizable self-expression. For example, some of us, if someone needs to wear earphones all the time for whatever reason, having earphones that have certain colors or designs on it might be a very important form of self-expression when they can't wear the same hairdos or hats or something. If they have a wheelchair, using it as part of like a self-expression could be really nice. It could be a source of pride, individuality, a way of communicating yourself, who you are. It could also hold significant meaning, and this is all great for your mental health, human health, and also it makes people more likely to look at us in a positive way, like, oh, look at the cool headphones, or look at the cool devices they're using, and have discussions there and make us more stand out, but in like a very nice way. Just some quick food for thought there. And I'm thinking paintable, 3D printable, attachment of devices, stuff like that. And this actually also goes back to repairability and all those other things I talked about. And it's also, if you make it more like self-expressing, people more likely to start picking up in the first place, like kids who might not first be interested, when they see that it's fun, that they can put all the different devices on it, or people that are more hesitant if they can have it their way. Making these things also more fun, the funner a device is to use, the more likely you can teach it at a young age to people and they're self-motivated and interested, and the more likely other people that are hesitant will win over to it and less people look down upon it. The last one that I just added was to make stuff more compact so it takes up less space. And then if it takes up less space, it's easier to clean up stuff, move it, and so on. Well, that's it. Well, thank you very much for listening. Please like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out. I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours in a year, which is really hard. With your help, I think I can do it. Also, if you have any ideas for future videos, comments, or suggestions, please leave in the comments section below. And also, please try to get your friends to like this too. Thank you very much again. Goodbye.